And Larry, we recognize you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, members of City Council. The City Council uses a consent agenda to consider items that are non-controversial and routine. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and the vote of the City Council. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a council member or citizen with consent of council. The consent agenda contains the following items, and there are 5 items on the agenda, 10 items on the overall agenda. 5 again are on consent. The first consent item concerns approval and acceptance of minutes and reports. There are 11 sets of minutes from 6 boards and commissions that have met between August and January. It also includes Finance Committee reports for December 2014 and a summary of contracts awarded, change orders approved, City Manager's settlement of claims, and the City Manager's discretionary fund. The value of contracts that have been awarded totals $159,287. The funds expended under the manager's discretionary fund totals $14,500. Item 2 under consent is a resolution appointing the first alternate commissioner to North Carolina Municipal Power Agency. The vacancy was created by Greg Demko's resignation and acceptance of a position elsewhere. And I have volunteered to take that position if the council is so inclined. Item 3 is award of bid for a compact track loader with attachments for the Energy Services Department and Electric Division. The specifications were sent to 5 vendors. Bids were received December 15th from 2 vendors, and the staff recommendation is to award contracts to Carolina Cat as a responsive bidder for $119,564. Item 4 is a request by Union County Historic Preservation Commission to pursue designation of 120 North Main Street as a historic property. The property was formerly the American Bank and Trust Company, which is a city building, and the Facilities Committee recommends support of the request. Item 5 is the Corporate Aviation Center Covenants and Minimum Standards for corporate hangars at Charlotte Monroe Executive Airport. This item provides for standards and criteria around the hangars. The existing standards and criteria and policies focused on airport operations and construction of hangars. Again, the purpose is to ensure the uses are aligned with our planned intent for use of the hangar property or airport property. It seeks to protect the public and private investments that are being made and restricts use to storage functions and excludes commercial activities. The Airport Commission recommends approval, and that is the last item on the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you, sir. On the consent agenda, do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, consent agenda passed, and we'll go into our regular agenda. Item 6, economic development. I recognize you, sir.
Mayor Kilgore,
Go ahead, Tom.
council members, Mayor Faison, it's my pleasure to bring before you tonight a request for an incentive for Glen Mark. The requested incentive is in the form of acceptable consideration for the potential purchase of 5 acres of land in the Monroe Corporate Center. The total consideration of the land will be a combination of $100 cash paid by the company and $67,900 in proposed tax revenues, sales tax revenues, and utility revenues that are resulting from this project over the next 5 years. Glenmark is headquartered in Mumbai, India, and manufactures and markets generic formulation products and active pharmaceutical ingredients internationally. The company purchased the Monroe Shell Building No. 3 in August 2014 and is considering an additional investment at this location already. Glenmark has appropriated $9.5 million to install an injectable line of pharmaceuticals somewhere in their global footprint. Monroe, again, is being considered for this investment. If Monroe is selected, the anticipated new taxable investment in machinery and equipment could be approximately $9.5 million over the next 5 years, but there will be no additional jobs with this investment. The first investment, just to remind you, was $17 million and 40 jobs, and that 40 jobs paid an average of $65,000 per year. The company began conversations with our office in the fall of last year, and the potential location is dependent upon many factors, including incentives, and that being the incentives from the county and the incentives from the city in the form of 5 acres of land. And the inducement for the company is, this inducement of land is in lieu of any other traditional incentive grants that we would have. The Monroe Union County Economic Development Board of Advisors has discussed the project and unanimously supports the sale at $68,000, made up of $100 in cash by the company and $67,900 in the form of prospective tax revenues, sales tax revenues, and utility revenues. Now, per the North Carolina General Statutes 158-7.1 D2, a government unit may sell property less than the fair market value as long as they determine additional consideration for the land for benefits to the community that they will receive up to but not exceeding a 10-year period. The consideration for the project can be calculated based on their prospective tax revenues, sales tax revenues, utility revenues, jobs created, etc. So for this, since there's no jobs, we're just looking at the tax revenues and utility revenues. So based on the projected investment, the current tax rate, assuming a consistent value, assessed value, and no depreciation, the economic development staff has determined that the project should generate $263,625 in benefit to the city over the 5-year period, far exceeding the $67,900 that we're asking council to consider tonight as the inducement. As with all the projects, we perform a cost-benefit analysis that looks at both the benefits and the costs the company will have on the community, and this project has achieved a ratio of 17.56 to 1, so $17.56 to every dollar invested over a 10-year period. The Union County Board of Commissioners is also considering an economic development incentive grant tonight at their meeting, and that amount will not exceed $190,000 over a 5-year period. If City Council concurs with the positive recommendation by the staff and the Economic Development Board of Advisors, I ask that Council accept the benefit to the city in the forms of prospective tax revenues, sales tax revenues, and utility revenues as acceptable consideration in an amount of $67,900 and applied toward the total sales price of $68,000 for the 5 acres in the Monroe Corporate Center. And those 5 acres lie just to the south of the existing facility that they have now. The purchase contract will also include, the contract that we asked that staff develop will have a clawback provision to ensure that the city is compensated if the company does not meet the requirements that we have put forward into the contract. In other words, it's performance-based. As with all of our projects, all the inducements that we have are performance-based. So Glenmark's performance requirement would be a minimum investment of $5 million in the city of Monroe, which shall maintain an annual assessed value average of $2.5 million for the equivalent period of 5 years. If Glenmark has not achieved that equivalent benchmark as set forth in the proposed contract by the end of the 5-year period beginning January 2016, they shall pay the city all or a portion of the $67,900 back. This amount is derived by calculating the penalty through the achieved proportional amount of the taxable investment. So in other words, if they achieve 50%, they would pay 50% of that back. Based on the documents in the file, I conclude that the City of Monroe and Glenmark Generics have complied with all the conditions necessary under the General Statute 158-7.1 for the conveyance of real property. And as per the city's practice since August of 1997, at the time of the closing, the city will pay the representative realtor 5% of the sales price. Jones Lang LaSalle will be eligible for a real estate commission of $3,400, or approximately 5% of this sale. These monies will be paid again at the time of closing. The Monroe Union County Economic Development Board of Advisors and staff recommend that City Council accept this amount, the $67,900, new ad valorem tax revenue, utility revenue, and sales tax revenue, and $100 cash paid by the company as consideration for the purchase of the 5 acres within the Monroe Corporate Center. We also ask that you have staff prepare the sales agreement and authorize the mayor to sign that document.
Council have any questions? Chris, when will their production start, or when will they start the actual hiring of these people? at 65,000 or there about a year.
Yes, sir. The anticipated, they're accepting resumes now.
Yes.
They're starting to vet people. They're looking for the plant manager. We met with them this morning. The plant manager and the assistant plant manager now, and then they would start bringing staff on board after that, the production staff. They're looking for operations to begin sometime in April of this year. They will then have their product produced and put on the shelf. FDA has to have it on the shelf for a period of time to make sure that it's stable. Then once it's deemed that this plant has met all the requirements of the FDA, then they can go into full-born production sometime in the summer.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is anyone here who would like to speak in favor? Hearing none, is anyone here who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and take action.
Mayor, if you could get a motion from council to close the public hearing, that would be
All right.
best for the record.
Okay, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Public hearing is now closed. At this time, we'll take action.
Move to approve.
Have a motion to approve? Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, that'll pass. Thank you, Chris. Item 7, recommendation of appointment committee, Ms. Nash.
Yes, we met, the Citizen Appointment Committee met today, and we recommend to the council make the following appointments. Appoint Miles Cooley as an alternate member for the Board of Adjustment. Appoint Don Edwards and Howard Hedda to Charlotte Monroe Executive Airport Commission. Appoint Brenda Lemons to the Land Development Committee. Appoint Sheila Crunkleton as the Vice Chair of the Monroe Tourism Development Authority. Appoint Brandon Derrick and Dan Shive to the Monroe Tourism Development Authority. Appoint Chad Griffin, Christopher Martinez, and reappoint Matt Nelson to the Monroe Union County Economic Development Board of Advisors. Appoint Gail Marshall to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and to reappoint Drew Lawrence to the Planning Board, and I will make that motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? All in favor? I'm sorry. Okay. Any objection? Hearing none, that's passed. Item 8, Winchester Center improvements. Who's handling that, Brian? Or who? Okay, Mr. Brian.
Good evening, Council. The Facilities Committee reviewed the proposal staff submitted or filed with regard to the $200,000 that we were asked to look at to improve the current facility at Winchester. That's what I'm bringing before you tonight. It's allocated in the current budget, and we are using information that was gathered from the Winchester Teen Center Ad Hoc Committee and from a community survey that was administered by Winchester Center staff. And let me just get into the outline. The proposed facility improvements at the Winchester Center, we would convert a former locker room into a fitness room. This would be to the rear of the gym area. That would be $19,500. We would renovate the gym lobby involving the reception desk, windows, and replacing some of the doors, the interior doors. That's estimated at $13,500. We would be replacing existing basketball goals and backboards. We would be installing the new adjustable goals that can go up for the different ages to accommodate younger players during both open and league play. That's estimated at $12,000. We're also proposing a locker room renovation. This would entail design and construction costs associated with the conversion of the second locker room into ADA-compliant restroom facilities that will accommodate our current restroom needs at the facility. The two front restrooms at the front of the building are dated and need improvement, and in the future we can have a new facility in the back at a future date when we renovate those other restrooms. At the Bazemore Meeting Room, we would do computer lab upgrades, replacing the existing 6 computers, constructing and install a built-in computer desk that would accommodate them, and purchase chairs for those 6 desks. That's $8,600 estimated. Screen projector, we would place their existing projector screen with an automated wall-mounted version and install a ceiling-mounted projector. That's estimated at $6,000. Replace kitchen appliances, the stove, refrigerator, microwave, that's $3,000. Game room, replace the pool table and TVs, estimated at $3,000. So the total we're proposing of improvements at Winchester are $165,600. The remaining $34,400 would go to replacing and upgrading computer labs at the other rec centers, J. Ray Shute, Sutton Park, Dickerson, and Old Armory. That would replace 6 existing computers. That would do the construction, install the built-in desk, and replacing the chairs to go along with that. So that totals the $200,000 that was allocated in the budget for the original teen center.
Can you speak a little bit about when you said you did a community survey about how you went around doing that and how many people participated and how you came up with this?
That was staff that went out door to door to do that. I think they collected responses. 19 were returned and talked to. So from the teen center meeting and the surveys that we had back, this is how we came up with the plan.
And that pretty much updates all the facilities that we have there in Winchester? Is there anything that...
Pretty much. I know that the pool has to be replastered. That has been proposed in other budgets, but not been done due to budgeting and funding.
Technically, the pool needs it now.
And it needs to be done, so that's something that you as council can take care of, or whichever route we go.
How much is that?
About 60.
I think what was allocated in the budget, it's about 60.
Yeah.
60.
About 60,000.
Yeah, because if you do the pool, you need to go ahead and get it done before the season starts, because they have to pass inspections and everything.
Yeah, that
and
would
the
have
pool's
to
pretty
be
bad.
early in spring. The 60 would cover the pool replastering, also some work that needs to be done on the deck, addressing some of the other issues there. So it would be a little more involved. It might be able to be done for less, but that's what we estimated at the time. That's not included here because I wanted to put the $200,000 to the facility itself. The pool's always been a separate issue that we've considered in budget process.
Okay, any other questions?
I have a comment.
Yes.
Brian, I'd like to thank you for all the hard work and for your the report that you gave us, and as well as thank everyone who's worked on it and will work on the facilities improvements. I support it as because I know that they were needed and they are needed. However, I support this with the esprit de corps because I don't view the improvements as a substitute nor as a compromise for the design of the teen center, but rather as an installment as we begin to address the need to provide not only recreational, but health, social, and education needs the 13, 18-year-old population that will both affect their quality of life. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
I too would like to thank you and the staff for what you've done to go out and get these comments and to be able to come up with the allocations. And I think this is a good allocation of those funds, and I'll make the motion that we go ahead with that.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, that will pass. Thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you. We're ready to go.
Okay. Item 9 is public comment period, and I have 2 people signed up, and I will take them in the order they have signed. Mr. Don Hughes, at this time, will recognize you. And if you can, hold your comments to about 3 minutes, gentlemen, ladies, I appreciate it, sir.
I will try to keep it to 3 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
Don Hughes, 600 West Jefferson Street, 704-361-1909. I represent myself, Don Hughes, and my wife, Betty Clark. I'm not here for the school system. It's me, taxpayer, citizen. Last night I learned of what appears to be a fast-track sale of the EJ property and turn it into a homeless shelter. That last night, heard about last night for the first time. I am displeased and dismayed that that has been perceived to be a secret. I have heard that Ms. Bragg has been meeting with council members on the side, and it has a perception of behind the scenes greasing the wheel so that when it comes to the council, it'll be a done deal. I will be transparent. With the school system, we are transparent. I will be transparent. Anything I have to say will be an open forum. No doors closed, the doors are wide open. Statistics about the people who frequent homeless shelters. There are some good people that need help. That bad decisions, they get the shaft, whatever. They need to be helped get reestablished to return into society. Unfortunately, most people are homeless for reasons that most of us cannot do anything about. Drugs, alcohol, and mental instability. Statistics from the Shelter 2.0 website. I did quick research last night because I couldn't sleep. For persons and families, the three most commonly cited causes are lack of affordable housing, poverty, unemployment. For singles, the three most commonly cited causes for homelessness are substance abuse, lack of affordable housing, and mental illness. People who are homeless frequently report health problems. 38% report alcohol use problems. 26% report other drug use problems. 39% report some form of mental health problems. 20 to 25% meet criteria for serious mental illness. 66% report either substance abuse and or mental health problems. 3% report having HIV and AIDS. 26% report acute health problems other than HIV and AIDS, such as tuberculosis, pneumonia, or sexually transmitted diseases. 46% report chronic health conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, or cancer. The City of Monroe Master Plan adopted in February 2008, Section 6.2 Land Use, 6.2.1 Existing Uses, Recommendation number 5. Critical for the success of the downtown is enhancing safety in the existing neighborhoods in and around the study area. The EJ building is directly on the border of the study area. This future use is not safe. Per the future land use map, the EJ property is office employment and not residential, multifamily, or community housing of any kind. The EJ is zoned business, and a large portion of that parking lot on the northeast corner of West Jefferson and College is on the Federal Register of Historic Places and is in the local Monroe Historic District overlay. This is not an economic development that promotes downtown Monroe, and especially not the historic district. The fringe of a historic district is fragile at best. The proposed use is a danger to the district. My house, my wife's house, is our only investment. We don't have a beach house. We don't have a mountain house. This is our home. My wife is worried now about going outside because people all of a sudden show up behind her back. We call police fairly often. Okay. If the shelter goes through, she won't even go outside unless I'm home with her. We call the police for some reason weekly now, and if the shelter goes through, I'm sure it'll be almost every day. We have put our blood, sweat, and tears into our house for the last 19 years. If the shelter goes through, all of our hard work will be for nothing. It is not easy to sell historic properties. I think you know that. And I can't think of anybody that would say, let's buy that house. It's right across the street from the homeless shelter. I will be 65 years old this year. I don't have much fight left in me. This will be my last stand. If the shelter goes through, it will be the end of my wife and me having a life and the beginning of us trying to survive. Please don't let this go through. For you, for us, and for our grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. The next sign up is Mr. Perez. Am I saying that right? Am I pronouncing that correct?
Hello, everyone. My name is Isaiah Perez. I'm a volunteer chaplain. I'm also a volunteer chaplain in the Union County Jail. Also volunteer with the Red Cross. Also, I'm a volunteer executive director of the Christian Community Agency on 1390 Wacop Avenue. Last year in November, the agency had a dinner, which we invited the mayor, and we recognized him as the Mayor of the Year. This year, last week, we had a breakfast, special breakfast for the Monroe Police Department. We recognize the work that they do around here, and tonight we want to recognize somebody special for us, and that would be Deborah Duncan. City Council Deborah Duncan. We would like to recognize the job that she has been done in Monroe area. I wanted to give her this plaque on the breakfast that we had, but she wasn't able to go, and we wanted to come tonight and recognize her job and in front of everybody. Deborah, City Council.
Thank you.
If you want to read it, so I give everybody can.
Okay. Should have brought my glasses down here. It said the Christian Community Agency in the Spanish Community of Monroe recognizes Deborah Duncan, City Council Member, Chief of Police, retired of Monroe, for outstanding commitment, dedication, and significant contribution to the Spanish community of Monroe area, 2015. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, item 10 is a closed session. And whoever is going to make the motion to go in closed session, if you look, and I think you already have, we have a closed session that needs to be read when we go into closed session. So I'd ask whoever makes the motion, would you please take that and read it with your motion, please?
Mayor, I move we go into closed session pursuant to NCGS section 143-318.11A3 to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the city attorney and the city council, and to consider and give instructions to the city attorneys concerning the handling of judicial action, specifically in the cases of James H. Hughes versus City of Monroe and Norman Smith versus Town of Stallings, City of Monroe, and Deborah Duncan.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're going into closed session.
Means with the exception of city personnel, we would need everyone to. Thank you. City personnel and our outside attorneys.